you expect a really good fight. So,
how sure are you today that you win this fight?
I'm 1,000% sure now.
He believes in us, and we believe in him. So that keeps us together.
Now you got fighters going to Omaha to be trained by Bo McAnally.
For Crawford to come up super middleweight and expect to get a result, it's a big ask. It's a tall order, as they say.
This is literally uncharted territory for Terence Crawford.
When Crawford hits harder than you might think, of course, let's give him his respect.
We just work. We put the work in. We know Canelo's a bigger opponent than normal.
That left hand down the pipe, if he can do those things, it's going to give Canelo real problems, and it's going to make Canelo break his rhythm.
Terence Crawford's confidence has the boxing world talking as fans eagerly await whether he can back up his bold claims inside the ring. However, recognizing the challenge ahead, Crawford acknowledged that Canelo is a bigger opponent than usual and recognized the challenges he brings inside the cage. He stated that his main focus has always been to give his best in preparation. Crawford added that while he has studied Canelo carefully, he's well adjusted to handle the challenges in fight night.
Experience before, is that what that is?
No, it's just, man, my body just did what it did. You know, I never went into training camp like, oh man, I gotta put on extra armor or this or that. You know, like, we just work. We put the work in. We know Canelo's a bigger opponent than normal. We know he punches harder. Well, we don't know, but from the scouting reports, he punches harder. He take a better punch, you know, so of course we got to make sure that we prepared and our body is capable of withstanding what you dish out. But
moreover, Crawford stated that going into a fight, nothing is certain. Injuries can happen and no fighter can ever be completely sure of the outcome. He added that any claim otherwise is not truthful, and only after the performance do we find out who wins. Crawford confirmed that he is more than ready to take and step into the ring and perform.
How sure are you today that you win this fight?
I'm 1,000% sure now. You know, you gotta think. You know, going into a fight, you don't know what's going to happen. You know, you can get injuries. He can get injuries. Like, there's so many things that goes on in a boxing match. You know, the judges, the ref, like just everything, preparation. So you're not 100% sure. If a fighter say, "Oh, I'm 1,000% sure," you know, they lying. Because you got to go out there and perform at the end of the day. And I'm more than ready to go out there and perform this Saturday.
Expanding on this, Terence addressed the narrative, questioning whether he can face the power and precision of Canelo Alvarez. He insisted that critics always doubt him, but he consistently proves them wrong. He believes that when he dominates on fight night, people will search for ways to explain his performance, and most of them will just be speechless and awe.
Anything different to the table that you haven't seen?
Well, they always say that, you know? They say that with Spence. He's the body snatcher. He's going to break my ribs and so forth. You know, we shall see.
How do you want people to remember this performance when it's all said and over? What's the headline the next day?
Listen, they gonna come up with their own analogy, you know? All I know is they're going to be saying Terence Crawford was spectacular September 13th.
Meanwhile, Canelo Alvarez believes Crawford is successfully adjusted to the 168-pound frame while trying to prove the doubters wrong. Alvarez expects Crawford to bring his best and anticipates a highly competitive fight between the two.
about that? I think it's good because we see he prepared himself really well, and you expect a really good fight. So.
Thank you.
Additionally, Crawford pointed out that Canelo has had advantages he never had. From his amateur days, Alvarez had financial backing and a team that believed in him, placing him in top camps and giving him the best opportunities. Crawford had to carve his path out without those resources, focusing solely on boxing while building his career from the ground up.
When you look at my career and you look at his career, he had the support since he's been an amateur. So he had money behind him since he was 15 years old. So he already had people to believe in him and put the money behind him and get him, you know, in the best camps, put him in the best situations. All he had to do was focus on boxing. I never had that. You know, he had the support before he even was Canelo Alvarez.
Interestingly, from the world of MMA, Michael Bisping stated that technically, Terence Crawford is the better boxer, but in combat sports, size matters. What remains to be seen, according to Bisping, is whether Crawford can successfully hurt Canelo Alvarez. Bisping noted that Canelo is expected to win either by a clear decision or even a late stoppage. He added that if Crawford does pull off a victory, it would be a historic and monumental accomplishment.
Technically, I think Crawford is the better boxer, but size really does matter when it comes down to it. When it's all said and done, can you hurt Canelo Alvarez? To do that, you've got to stand your ground, stay smart. Does Crawford have the raw durability and the power to even win? Crawford hits harder than you might think, of course. Let's give him his respect. He's knocked out 11 of his last 12 opponents, but that one opponent that he couldn't KO was when he moved up a weight class. Bigger guys, they're used to taking heavier shots. Most people online, they're expecting a clear decision by Canelo or even a late stoppage. Now listen, if Bud wins, it will be historic. It will be monumental. It'll be something that never is forgotten about.
However, Bisping emphasized that he does not see it happening. He highlighted Canelo's size advantage, harder punches, solid chin, and muscular frame to absorb shots. Over 12 rounds, Crawford's game plan would likely resemble his approach against Bivol, hitting and moving while planting his feet occasionally. Despite Crawford being the more technical fighter, Bisping expects him to fight on the back foot while Canelo stays aggressive and follows up.
But I don't think it's going to happen. Canelo Alvarez is the bigger guy. He's the face of boxing. He's fighting in Las Vegas. He's the bigger, stronger guy. He's got a good chin. He's got the harder shots. He's got the muscle to absorb him. And I think over 12 rounds, with Bud's game plan, which is probably going to be stick and move, plant the feet on occasion, as I said, and look for big openings. Don't get me wrong, if he cracks him with a good one and wobbles him, he's going to follow up 100%. He's one of the most technical boxers that the sport has ever seen. But for the most part, he's going to fight on the back foot. So even if it is kind of close on the punch count, Canelo is going to be the person moving forward. So there you have it. I do obviously think that Canelo wins this fight, and I think he wins it via decision or a late stoppage. But I can see it kind of going either way. Ultimately, it comes down to if Crawford can outbox Canelo for most of the fight.
Similarly, Carl Frog believes Canelo Alvarez may have once seemed too big, but looking at Crawford's current physique, there is little difference in size. Alvarez began his career at welterweight and even moved up to light heavyweight, losing to Bivol, before returning to super middleweight, where he has become the undisputed king.
I thought Canelo was going to be too big, but looking at Crawford and looking at the size of him, there's not much in it. And Canelo started off actually, didn't he, at welterweight in his career, early doors when he was a young lad, and he's been up to light heavyweight. Obviously lost to Bivol, and then he's dropped back down to super middleweight and is the undisputed.
In addition, Frog believes it's a tall order for Crawford to move up to middleweight and expect a result, but he believes that if anyone can pull it off, it is Terence Crawford.
But he can touch him. So for Crawford to come up to super middleweight and expect to get a result, it's a big ask. It's a tall order, as they say. But if anyone can do it, Terence Crawford can.
In line with this, Wade Clemens stated that for Crawford to win, he must establish early dominance. He noted that Terence will not fight like William Skull or Edgar Berlanga, who were hit by Canelo and found his power too much to handle
this fight. So let's assume the weight doesn't bother him. Let's assume he is fully healthy, not injured. Let's assume that Canelo's power is not too much from him coming up from 147, 154 to 168. Let's assume all that's true. How does Terence Crawford win this fight? Number one, he has to get Canelo's respect early. Terence Crawford is not going to fight this fight on his back foot, circling around the ring like William Skull or Edgar Berlanga, any of these guys that got hit by Canelo and went, ooh, no, I don't want any part of that. That can't happen. And do not forget, by the way, that Charlo was 154 undisputed champion.
Furthermore, Clemens warned that if Crawford does not assert himself from the start, Canelo will walk him down and secure a knockout.
So you have to get Canelo's respect. He is someone that is going to try to walk you down until you stop him. The guys that got his respect and turned the tide of their fights were Triple G and Dimitri Bivol, and for different reasons that we're going to go over.
Additionally, Wade stated that Crawford's best path to victory is to follow in the footsteps of Triple G, controlling the fight with his jab and unleashing heavy combinations when Canelo is on the back foot. He added that if Crawford can replicate this strategy, outwork Canelo and take calculated risks, it could pose real problems for the Mexican star.
What I think Terence Crawford's best path to victory here is utilizing something like a Triple G style of fighting that was controlled with the jab and then heavy combinations. Before, he was outstriking Canelo in their first fight continuously, and he was kind of beating Canelo at his own game and pushing Canelo backward and making Canelo settle to being on the ropes and calling Triple G on and being like, you can't hurt me. If Terence Crawford has any semblance of that and is able to outwork Canelo in the pocket and is able to make those risks that he eventually has to take, right? Being in the pocket, looking to make Canelo miss with those big power punches and then capitalize on that check right hook and that left hand down the pipe. If he can do those things, it's going to give Canelo real problems, and it's going to make Canelo break his rhythm. And that's one of the bigger things that Canelo thrives on, is being a bit of a rhythm fighter.
Meanwhile, Max Kellerman stated that he's unsure if an in-and-out style is the best approach for Crawford. He suggested that a Roberto Duran style, applying pressure and fighting more inside, would suit Crawford better.
Ryan, I've heard a lot about how Crawford's supposed to fight Canelo. Be Sugar Ray Leonard, get in, get out. I don't know about that. I look at Roberto Duran, hidden classic, guys. You ever see Hagler, Duran?
Yep.
Duran coming up from lightweight, ultimately like Crawford, staked out the middle of the ring, pushed Hagler back at times, lost, but it was close. Like, to me, a lot of this fight early on, we're going to find out what's what. Is he just too small? We should find that out in the first 30 seconds, minute of the fight.
Echoing that, Ryan Garcia thinks Terence Crawford needs to stand his ground and break Canelo's momentum. He believes Crawford can't let Canelo dominate him around the ring all night, just trying to escape and run. According to Garcia, Crawford must stay active because Canelo not only takes the hits from others, but the real question is whether Crawford can handle Canelo's punches.
Well, no, I agree with you on the point where you have to, obviously stand your ground and kill that momentum. You don't want a guy just pushing around the ring all night and you're just trying to, escape and run away. So for me, he's going to always have to be active on the hands of Canelo, because Canelo, you see, he lets people hit him. He lets people get points. He lets people win rounds. So if Crawford can take that element but not get hit with those big shots, he has a chance. And can he take a shot from Canelo? I think that's the biggest point. Everybody you're naming, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're pound for pound. It's styles make fights. It's certain styles that Canelo has a problem with, and that's just the bottom line. Crawford doesn't fight like that, or from what I've seen. Crawford's a dog. He'll get in there and take chances. So right there, it shows me that Canelo has a way better chance of looking good against Crawford than bad.
On the other hand, Dave, the White Rhino Allen, believes Canelo Alvarez is no longer in his prime. He noted that after a long career and 67 fights, the wear and tear has been very apparent in his recent fights.
If you look at Canelo's record, who he's beat, who he's boxed, there's probably not another active fighter with a record, with the resume he has. He's just boxed. I'm looking for her now. He's boxed everybody. Crazy, really. Now, for me, I think his performances have dipped, definitely dipped, but he's 35 and he's had 67 fights, so that can be, you're gonna have to have a dip somewhere, I'm afraid, at that age.
Moreover, Allen pointed out that signs of decline became evident after Canelo's bouts with Dmitry Bivol and Gennady Golovkin.
So, after he lost to Bivol, Golovkin still a great fighter, but he was old man by then. The Ryder fight, I thought he did okay. Charlo, okay. Munguia. The two most recent fights, Belanga and Skull, I thought he's looked a bit on the slide, actually. Belanga, with hindsight, he'd say, oh well, Shiraz banged him out after.
Consequently, Allen believes Canelo is on the downward slope of his career, with slower feet making it difficult to keep up with Crawford. He also expects Crawford to land the harder shots in the fight.
I think he fought at close quarters quite a lot, and I do think Crawford will have Canelo going backwards at some point. I'm going to go for a Crawford win. And that's... Yeah, I'm pretty confident he'll win Crawford. I really am. I think Canelo's past his best. Nothing that worries me, the inactivity really, but he hasn't. And people say Madrimov, he couldn't do anything with Madrimov at 11 stone, so hasn't done anything with Canelo at 12 stone. I just think the speed will play a big part. I think he'll be too fast for Canelo. I think Canelo's feet have really, really slowed down.
And ultimately, Dave Allen picked Terence Crawford, citing his superior speed over Canelo Alvarez.
I think he's as good as he was. I think Crawford will outspeed him. I don't think Crawford will actually move a great deal. I don't think he'll move his feet massively. I don't think he'll be running away. People call it running. I don't think he'll be running. So I'm going to go for a Crawford win and Crawford to score a knockdown. Canelo's never been down in 67 fights. But I don't think he's facing anyone with the timing of Crawford. I think the speed will play a really, really big factor.
Building on that, Carl Froch stated that Terence Crawford is focused and bigger than expected. He noted that Canelo Alvarez began his career at welterweight, moved up through light middle and light heavyweight, and then returned to super middleweight. Crawford is taking a similar path later in his career, with both fighters older but experienced. Crawford looked comfortable at 168 pounds, but whether he's big enough to challenge Canelo will only be determined on fight night. Beyond that, there is little more to add.
I think Terence Crawford's bigger. Now I've seen him in the flesh. I saw him earlier today at the Grand Arrivals. It's quite busy. Didn't get a chance to speak to him. I'm speaking to Canelo tomorrow. Crawford's zoned in. He's focused in. But what I was going to say was, he looked big. He looks bigger than what I expected. And don't forget, Canelo started off at welterweight. And he was up at light middleweight. He went all the way up to light heavy, come back down to super middle. So he started off at the same weight that Crawford's at. And now Crawford's coming up later on in his career. They're both aging athletes. Crawford's older, naturally the smaller man. But he looks comfortable at this weight. Is he big enough and strong enough to take on Canelo Alvarez? We're going to find out on Saturday night, but there's not really much more to say, to be honest. But all I will say is the scene is set. There's something in the air. I feel like it's going to be a big event, a big occasion.
However, Serhii Bochuk stated that the weight jump for Crawford is simply unrealistic. As a boxer, he knows the difference in power when moving up a division, and Crawford is effectively jumping 2 to 3 weight classes. Bochuk added that while Crawford was strong at 154 pounds, expecting the same performance at 168 is too much.
I'm boxer. I know what is this when you change one weight division. You change one weight division and you feel power, you know. And he's jumping 2 weight division. Yes, a lot of people told me Crawford very strong. Okay, so you can be strong in 154. You can be strong 160. 168 is too much, you know. It's Canelo weight division. It's Canelo. Canelo know what this 168. Canelo what is 175. No, Canelo know what is this heavy, and I think when Crawford feeling power Canelo, and it starts problem for him, really.
But Bochuk believes that due to the significant weight jump and the increased power, Canelo Alvarez is the likely winner.
One fight before he 147. You know, he changed one weight division, and the first fight with the Madrimov, very close fight. He just weight division. Now he jumped 2 more weight division. For me it's too much. I don't know. For me it's too much. Yes, I think Canelo.
Furthermore, Mexican silver medalist Marco Verde picks Canelo Alvarez to beat Crawford by decision. He expressed doubts about a knockout, expecting Crawford to move around to escape Canelo's punch barrage, but noted that Canelo will keep the pressure on throughout the fight.
What do you think about the main event?
Canelo win.
Yeah. You've been practicing your English.
As fight night approaches, the stakes have never been higher. Terence Crawford enters the ring with confidence, experience, and a relentless drive to prove the doubters wrong, and analysts remain divided, weighing Crawford's speed and technical skill against Canelo's strength and championship pedigree. Ultimately, the outcome will hinge on who can impose their game plan, adapt under pressure, and seize the pivotal moments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a beat, and we'll see you in the next video with more exciting updates.